What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick.
Hello, I am not Dave Benson. I am the Reverend Tyler Flowers.
And Tyler is the pastor over at Bascom United Methodist Church, and he's a good friend of mine. I've actually had the joy to work with him, plan with him, all that good stuff. He's just a super guy, and we're excited to have you on the podcast, man.
Thank you. I am happy to be here.
So if you're seeing this is probably one of our, we're doing this as to get a couple canned podcasts so that if there's a time we can't record or whatever, that we have some good material for you guys. So we're actually going to take some time to get to know Tyler, as he's one of our friends inside the county, one of our 5 Methodist pastors left, I think, in the county. And we have traditionally done a hot wings challenge with the pastors. So you're getting off the hook a little bit.
I'm hungry, though.
Maybe next time we'll do that. So,
okay.
All right, let's get into it. Okay, Tyler, so you are just now finishing your first year over at Bascom. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've been reappointed? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a real awkward start to the podcast. If you're like, actually, here's my announcement. I'm leaving. No, that's a good thing.
Out.
That's a good thing for that church. Like I said at the top, I've actually had the joy to get to know you pretty well. We've gone to some movies together. Mm-hmm. I think the first movie we went and saw was Wolverine and Deadpool.
Yes.
Which was risky for me. I was reflecting on this the other day because I was like, getting to know a new pastor and going to that movie, you're like, what's right to laugh at? What's not right to laugh at?
That was the whole point.
Did you feel that at all?
Yeah, I invited you.
You did?
Because that was a test.
Oh.
I wanted to know, I'm really going to put this guy through the ringer here.
It's true. I was thinking about that after. I was like, man, that could have gone really sour if I laughed at the wrong jokes or whatever. But anyway, like I said, it was a pleasure getting to work beside you and all that good stuff. And I love the energy you bring to the pulpit. I love just your demeanor in staff meetings and stuff like that. You were fun to work for.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. But what we're here to do now is I would like you to let the people know who you are, why you do what you do, where that kind of came from, all that good stuff. So, first off, Tyler, can you just kind of give us an idea of what led you into ministry?
Well, I have to tell you what didn't lead me into ministry first, which I think that probably 75% of people that do take on a pulpit or go into the ministry, it's not their first choice. So mine actually was video production. And in high school, or actually middle school, I went to a church where the guy who ran the video for the service, he was going to be my teacher in high school. So he brought me up and taught me how to do it in the booth. And then from there, I went to school and joined his class and learned from him there, and just became fascinated with film and video. Editing with computers was still relatively new at the time. They're called nonlinear editing. Right. And so I was one of the few that actually did it that way, and got onto our student-led news shows and helped them.
Was that at the church or was that at school?
That was at school.
Okay.
So that was in high school. And then after that, I pursued TV broadcasting at Georgia College and State University in Milledgeville.
Yep.
And got my degree in mass communication with a concentration in TV broadcasting. Ended up going up to New York, becoming an intern for Late Show with David Letterman.
That's cool.
And thought that my trajectory was set. And so I worked there, and then I worked for the local Fox News station, then the national Fox News station, but decided I wanted to move back home to Georgia. And was engaged to a girl from Georgia that I had met in Georgia, and she ended up following me. Who'd have thunk it? But we ended up moving back. And so, long story short, I pursued television here. I worked on a few short films with some Georgia State grads, and applied at jobs, CNN, the local Fox 5, CBS, all those places. And just kind of felt like I was hitting a brick wall. And so just thought, well, I have to get a job. So I ended up getting a job in IT, but I was selling IT services to city government officials.
Okay.
And that was not fun.
Yeah.
Because I would make cold calls and to people that did not need our services. And as much as I hate hanging up on people who I do not need their services, I know how they feel.
Yeah.
But
Now, did you ever have that moment though, where like somebody said yes, and you were like, oh, I don't know what to say now, like because you've been so used to saying no.
Exactly. Yeah. So they said yes. They said, yeah, that's fine. They call me back on blah blah blah. I was like, oh, okay. And so I got to go to the next part of the script. Yeah. You know. But and I'll be honest, that was, even though the task itself was not my favorite, the people that I got to work for there, it was a great reset, because I'm a very empathetic person. And when I mean that, I mean like I take on the kind of the vibe around me.
You do.
And so in New York, it really brought me down. It was really hard to live there. And so this was a great place for me to kind of be lifted up. And, you know, I also became a youth volunteer at St. James in Atlanta, St. James UMC, for my buddy Trey, and was doing that, was working at the job, got married, and then 2 weeks later got let go from the job. They had lost a big client, so they couldn't afford to keep me, because I was literally just making phone calls.
Yeah.
Even though they said I had a good attitude, I had a good work ethic, you know, I did everything they asked.
Had to cut somewhere.
Yeah, so... Yeah. But that was the wake-up call when it was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And my buddy Trey said, well, I think you'd make an awesome youth pastor. So I kind of put together a resume and realized I had a lot more experience than I gave myself credit for.
Because you have a background at Glisten, right?
I do,
yeah. A lot of like counselor work and stuff like that there?
So 2005 is when I started at Camp Glisten, and then, you know, was a camp counselor for a year. Then I worked as the videographer for 2 years, but still, you know, was around kids and counselors and all that, and then gone back for retreats and stuff. But I put together a resume, and people found out that I was looking for a job, and they called me, and I ended up getting hired at St. Paul UMC in Gainesville.
Yeah.
So that was the first ministry job. But when I told my mom I was becoming a youth pastor, she said, well, you know, when you were 12, you came back from a youth group trip and you said you wanted to be a youth pastor. And I said, I do not remember that.
And so, now it's like the prophecy fulfilled.
Exactly. And we would even say in the Methodist church that that's the prevenient grace of God working on me to, you know, fulfill a calling. And 2010, right at the end of 2010, I became the youth pastor, was there for 7 years. But after like 4 years, I felt the call into pastoral ministry, parish ministry. I went to seminary at Asbury Theological Seminary, graduated in 2019, and now I'm almost ordained, fully ordained. So,
yeah. How much longer do you have in that process?
So I'm beginning my third year,
And
and this is the last part of the process. For the typically you do 3 years is what's called provisional elder.
Right.
It's like a residency. So you have 3 years where you're a resident in ministry. And we have a group that we meet with once a month that we work on different things throughout. We have to do projects and all that.
Right.
So that's where I'm at now. Basically, this is the year where you do your final evaluations and you do final interviews and final presentations. And so it goes by very quickly.
Well, and this is actually podcast 1 of 2 with you, and then the next one we're actually going to talk about what you're doing in school, right? Like,
yeah, a little bit.
That's kind of part of what you're doing for that ordination process.
Yep.
So we'll keep coming full circle.
All right,
stay tuned.
Stay
tuned. Catch us next time But so since you've been in ministry now for a while, what is something that maybe brings you the most joy about being a minister, a provisional pastor, all this stuff? Why do you do it?
So I really like being helpful.
Yeah.
A lot of people come to me with problems that I can't fix, but what feels really good is when I'm able to give them resources to help them fix it. So, people will come to me saying, I have a family member who is an alcoholic or, things like this. And then I'll ask them questions and just be like, well, are they seeking a counselor? Are they seeking AA? Have they come to that point themselves where they have acknowledged that they have a problem? And it's always very rewarding when I give a number to someone and they call it and it actually makes a difference.
Yeah.
So, I don't pretend to have the answers, whether it be theologically or about life or anything, but I enjoy being a presence for people that helps them feel like someone's listening.
Yeah.
So,
and that's one of the reflections I would have about you too, is that it's actually something I feel like you're very gifted at. You've always been very comfortable to talk to. We've had a couple lunches and stuff like that where, we might not have gotten into like super nitty gritty, but I'm a naturally kind of reserved person. And your presence and stuff was able to bring stuff out of me that I might not have been more comfortable sharing other places. So I see that in you, just to reaffirm that feeling that you have of like, I like to help. I think you do a good job with that.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. What might be like one of the harder things that maybe people don't see that pastors have to deal with that you might be open to sharing?
I mean, it's kind of the same answer. Is sometimes when people come to me with stuff and I can't help them,
Yeah.
or I try my best and whatever I do ends up just not working or making it worse, or like, I think probably the worst thing is when someone comes to me with a problem and they tell me something that, whether they're a harm to themselves or someone else, and I have to report it. Like, that's probably the worst thing. Is there's certain obligations, but more of a better word, responsibilities.
Yeah.
That we as pastors, and even like youth pastors, all of that, like we have to, inform people who need to know of certain things, and sometimes that's really hard. But we've been taught to be open about that with people that we're working with. But I think the hardest part is just watching people struggle.
Yeah.
Because we can't do the work for them and we can't fix it. They're the ones that have to make the choice. And a lot of times you deal with people who or work with people, serve people who they're trying to help someone in their life.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this person who cares so deeply about this other person. And because of the choices of that other person, it's just hurting this person that you're working with. So that's probably the hardest thing.
Yeah.
But I still try to just be a calming presence to them, even if we just sit and pray and say, I have no idea how this is going to end up, but we trust that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
During you kind of were talking about in New York how you were kind of like an impasse and you kind of felt the vibes around you and how it impacted you. Do you ever feel like that kind of happens in ministry too? Like if you're around like something that's going really well, is like you just feel that extra hype, but also things might be harder or something like that weighs on you, and how do you kind of work through that some? Or if you feel that.
Yeah, no, I've gotten better. I think part of that too is like every in any job, it's this way, but especially with pastors, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses.
Sure.
And we have to figure out how to not, how to let our strengths shine through and not let our weaknesses overtake.
Yeah.
And so in order to not let, my sensitivity overtake, I've been doing the pastoral side of it for 7 years, and I've been doing ministry for 14.
Yeah.
So it comes with that experience to know, this, to know when to say, this is something beyond me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help, but this is what I can do, and I'm doing it, and so therefore I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I cope with it, is just knowing. Now, if things are, I'm a middle ground person as well. So if someone or a group of people are seeing something in a really negative light, I'm really good at bringing them up to the more neutral, and the same the same with the positive. Not that I'm like bringing them down, but I'm able to help people find the balance.
Yeah, I'll find that center spot of like, because I hear you. Because we kind of get in the space of like, either we get too low about things and we're too defeatist attitude, or sometimes we get too hype, and it's like you got to think through some of this stuff too. And because really,
Yeah.
I guess you'd want most of your answers to be found kind of in that middle space of like, okay, it's not as bad as we think, but it's also maybe not as good. So what's this middle ground that we're going to come to with it? Is that kind of?
I think a better way to say it is like knowing when to celebrate and knowing when to continue to push forward.
Yeah.
Like, or allowing time for the celebration.
For sure.
It's like not being negative to the point where you bring down the positivity, but just saying, let's have a moment where we're on this plateau, where we've climbed this hill, and we need to take a breath, but we also need to look back and see what all we've done.
Yeah.
And then being able to turn back around and say, okay, well, now this is where we have to go. And that's kind of where we are with our first year at Bascom is as much as like, our church has been through a lot. And if anyone who's United Methodist knows about disaffiliation that happened this past year or two, and even before that, COVID.
Yeah.
So helping people recognize the good things that are happening. And I think right now, there's a lot of people that are hurting. So it's not so much that we're trying to get them to temper their expectations. We're trying to dream a little bit at this point.
Yeah.
So kind of going back on against what I said earlier, but I think it's more, you just have to, being a good leader, you have to know what the group needs.
Yeah.
And so getting into Bascom, we needed to focus on healing and celebrating what God was doing with them and is doing with them and us at this time.
Yeah, you're right. I think, unfortunately for the Methodist Church, there was like this perfect storm of like crap between COVID and then the disaffiliation stuff, and it was quite hard to see through that storm at times as people. I think that's something we could share, that as we went through it was tough. It was tough on not just pastors, not just church staff, but also on the congregations. And some of the story that you were talking about with Bascom is, they had a hard go at it and got caught by a couple of unfortunate circumstances and stuff like that. But I can tell you, even from my perspective, if you're listening and you didn't know, I did youth ministry over at Bascom for a little over a year, and part of that was before Tyler got there, and then just recently I stepped down because of opportunities here. But I think I was seeing some of that process of, the early staff meetings felt like we were just kind of rehashing the wounds a little bit, picking at it a bit.
Yeah.
And now it's like the staff meetings especially, and I use that as relevant because that's mostly where I met with people, but it felt like Neosporin was put on the Band-Aid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there was some good healing starting to happen. You know what I mean? And hardship takes work.
Right.
And it's good work though, and you kind of get back on your feet and dust yourself off and y'all keep moving. And just from my perspective, I think you guys have a great staff to start with. And you've got good people. You've got a lot of good people who are really dedicated, and, keep praying, keep following. And I think it's going to get there. I really do. So
thank you.
Yeah.
I feel it, and I'm claiming it too this year. Like
right here.
And a lot of times I don't do that. I guess that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is like myself trying to be a little more positive in things, because the reality of going through the things that everybody went through with COVID and disaffiliation is that there's trauma that comes out of that. And so we're all having to deal with that on a psychological point of view. But I've been telling myself that this year we're going to feel a big difference.
Yeah.
And, I asked myself the other day, I was walking through the parking lot, and I just said, what do I want at church? And I said, I want more people.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why do you want more people? And I said, because I want a community. Like, I love the community that we have there already.
Yeah.
And they want more people to experience more community.
Yeah.
The more people you're around, the more community you have, the more you learn, and the more your eyes are open to the good things that this world has to offer.
Yeah.
And that, obviously what God has to offer through this world.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. This year, I really want us to try to build on that community. Yeah. So
I love that. And before we started recording, we were actually talking a little bit about, or you were kind of saying, there's a lot of thoughts of going in, like, where do we go next? And I think you just said it.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you go with that. I think that's exactly what the community around you needs. I think that's what the body needs and stuff like that. That's beautiful and well said. So keep that one in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Use that as your checklist there.
Back of the noggin.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, one last thing about ministry is, how has your view of ministry kind of changed? You said 14 years you've been in ministry. How has it changed from where you started to where you are now?
I think this is something that I've adopted the past 2 or 3 years. And not to bring up the D word again, but disaffiliation made me really think about my call to ministry and my personal theology. And if I was to if Jesus summed up the entire law and what it means to be a Christian in 2 laws, love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, love your neighbor as yourself, what would mine be other than that? Is see the person in front of me, serve the person in front of me. And, I want everyone to be happy. That's kind of that empathetic side, the people pleaser or whatnot.
Are you an Enneagram 9?
So, yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Just curious.
Actually, I might be more of I don't remember. I'm either a 9 or a 6.
Okay.
So
not the loyalist or the peacekeeper. Yeah, that sounds
yeah.
all right.
So, but I'm a helper. Whichever one was the helper is what I was. That might have been a 2. Honestly, don't remember. So I'm all over the place.
I've taken that test like 5 times. I got 7 different things, so I don't even know what I am.
But every time it's helped. But the big thing to answer the question is, when I am with someone, don't think about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's not about all the other stuff. Like, part of our job as pastors is that we're also, in a sense, we're a head of an organization. I know people hate to hear that the church is a business, but there is a business there's an administrative side to it that has to be paid attention to. And even as an elder, we're called to word, service, order, and sacrament. And that order is ordering the church. And part of that is administration, making sure that your finances are in order, or that you're being good stewards of your finances or your building, things like that. So, but I think the biggest thing is when I get to the point where someone calls me and needs something, or I have to run to the hospital, or I'm doing a funeral or a wedding or something like that, like, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Like, helping people live their lives. That's what ministry is all about. And you could come up with the best programming or marketing strategies or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, when that person comes to you and says, hey, can we talk for a second?
Yeah.
One, you hope that it's not about something wrong that you did. Yeah. And once you get over that and realize, no, it's not about me, they actually need someone to talk to. You talk to them and you realize, like, they feel a comfort and a peace with you. And that's what you hope that you facilitate with the rest of the congregation,
Yeah.
and that they do that to others. And, people say it all the time, the church is not the building, and that is the truth, hands down. Because the building should change, and it's going to change. People aren't going to like that, but it has to. Like, you have to upgrade, you have to do repairs and things like that. But what doesn't change is the fact that you have people there that need to feel the love of Christ.
Yeah. I love that. I love that like first 5 or 6 words you said is just like, see the person in front of you, serve the person in front of you. And what you're alluding to after that is so real for us, because, we think about our building and we go, oh, we did this because of, not just the physical building, but the things we do in ministry. Like, we've done this so long because of this, or we love this event because of this. And sometimes those events are still relevant and working and all that stuff.
And they have a place.
And they do. But there's also sometimes when we're doing things that our community no longer needs because we've always done them.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a good reminder for all of us. I mean, the ministry is just, who's the person in front of you and how do you serve that person? As a church body, who are the people in your community and how do you serve those people in your community? You know what I mean? That's I really like that, Tyler. That's good stuff. I'm gonna have to write that one. I'm gonna have to write that one down. So
I say that all the time.
well, I haven't heard you say it. So
Oh boy.
well, Tyler, I think we've gotten to know a lot about your ministry, but because I think it's important that we know all the facets of the pastor, not just the ministry side. I'd like to maybe have some fun with you. Are you open to that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's cool. I'm going to ask you something. Like, what's something that maybe people just don't know about you that's more fun, more lighthearted?
So we're going to talk about hobbies later, right? Because I'll save that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am not, like, anything that you think of that I might be into, I'm not. Like, so this might sound weird. As I am a tall person, I never played basketball, and which you can't really tell, but I'm 6'7". I never played basketball. I did have a phase, though, where I was heavily into basketball between 2017 and 2023.
Okay.
And I rooted for the Hawks and loved it. And I still have a love for basketball. I've gotten so distracted with other things. But I'm a big nerd.
Yeah.
I love anything that has to do with storytelling. I do write. I write our children's moments, the ones that I do. I'll write those, and I'm working on trying to get some of them published. And then the music that I listen to, I think people would think that it's kind of crazy. Like, I listen to some pretty heavy, whether it be hardcore, metal, stuff like that.
Like the screamo stuff?
Yeah, screamo. Like, I have an appreciation for bands like, we'll start with like Metallica and then go back to Black Sabbath and all that. I have an appreciation for all that because everything that I love came from that.
Yeah.
But I'm very much a 2000s emo kid and at heart.
Okay, give me a couple bands. I just need to know.
All right,
give me the reference.
So my favorite band of all time is Coheed and Cambria.
Okay.
And they are what you would consider a progressive rock band.
Yep.
And they have a comic book story that goes with all their music. So they're a concept band.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah. Oh, man, it goes deep.
Yeah.
And so I've been a fan of them for a long time. And then, probably, like, if I had to say bands that people would know that I grew up with, Blink-182 and
all the small things.
Newfound Glory,
Okay.
like that side of things. Now, when I first got into music, I wasn't allowed to listen to what we call secular music.
Yep.
But what was always playing was DC Talk, Stephen Curtis Chapman. Yep.
I'm dominant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So
So you listen to the rest of the stuff when Mom wasn't listening.
Well, no.
Just joking.
Well, that's the thing too. I'm a rule follower.
Yeah.
So if I did, then I would have confessed it. But once Mom kind of, relaxed a little bit and let me explore. But the thing that I appreciate about that, not to bring it back to something philosophical, but that's another thing that I like to do. Is I'm a big thinker. I think about everything way too much. But I always have convictions when I listen to music. If it's something that doesn't do something positive for me, then I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't matter what kind of music it is, if all they're singing about is something that has no substance, then I'm really not that big of a fan. Yeah. Now, there are some things that I really just like the music, and that's the thing too, is that as someone with ADHD, I don't always listen to the words.
Yeah.
The music is what gets me, and so that's why I do listen to heavier stuff, because a lot of times it's faster too.
Yeah.
So
those double basses.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably, I'll end with this because I'm going on way too long about this.
It's okay.
But I always have a vision in mind that if we did what the staff listens to on a Sunday morning on their way driving to church is, we see like our admin secretary might listen to, Brandon Lake or,
the Beatles.
Our worship leader, maybe she's professed 21 Pilots to be a fan, so she could do that. But for me, it would be like and I would be headbanging. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's cool. Okay, so what do you do to unwind after a week?
I enjoy video games.
Yep.
It calms my mind, and because I think way too much. So being able to just focus on something and do, just do a mindless task in that regard is nice. I like reading, but sometimes it's hard for me to stay in a book. Yeah. But I've heard that if you work with your hand, then Sabbath with your mind. If you work with your mind, Sabbath with your hands. And so I do a mixture of, like, sometimes I'll play video games or read, but then I also like to create and craft things.
Yeah. Which goes into your hobbies, which was my next question. What are some of your hobbies?
So this answers the first question, too. What's something that people wouldn't really realize? But I didn't want to jump the gun because I knew that hobbies was coming.
You got to save some stuff. For keep people tuned in.
So I'm a part of a Star Wars costuming club called the Mandalorian Mercs. If you grew up in the 70s watching the original Star Wars, you would be familiar with the Mandalorian as Boba Fett.
Yeah.
He was the first Mandalorian. But then with, beyond that, like with the second set of movies that they made, they introduced Jango Fett, which is actually the father of Boba Fett. And then you move on to the Clone Wars and all that, and they started introducing more of what Mandalorians are, and then it blew up with The Mandalorian on Disney+. Well, since 2007, there have been the Mandalorian Mercs, and so there's all these different Star Wars clubs, and they have the 501st, which is basically all the Empire characters. They've got the Rebel Legion, which is like the Rebel characters, and then different facets of it. But basically, 2 Februaries ago, I went to what's called an armor party with my friend Trey, the guy that told me I should be a youth pastor.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I left it thinking I wasn't ever going to do it. But then ended up getting his helmet because he had to get a new one because it was too small. And I ended up like fixing it up and painting it, and then ended up making a whole costume out of it.
Yeah.
And so, so that has been my passion for the past year and a half, is making Star Wars costumes.
Yeah.
And I branched off a little bit. I'm starting to work on another, an actual, what they call a canon character, which is a face character. So when you think of Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, I'm working on a character called the Fifth Brother, who was first showed in Rebels, but then was in a live action show, Obi-Wan Kenobi, in Disney+. So that will be probably a year or two of working on him, because those types of characters, you have to be very specific about things.
Because the details really matter.
Yes.
Because what you did with like the Mandalorian is you kind of have I don't want to oversimplify your thing, but it's kind of more of a general kind of breastplate kind of set where, and you kind of get your colors and your what's the emblem called?
Oh, your sigil.
Sigil. Yes.
And if y'all,
I didn't want to offend because I know that's a big deal.
And I can send pictures if you put them
send us some pictures.
I mean,
maybe we can throw them above here so people can kind of see what we're talking about.
But there's like in any character you want to do, there's the generic. Yeah. So I just did a custom Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Where there's specific eras that you have to follow. So in clothing and fashion, you've got the 60s, you've got the 70s, so within the Star Wars universe, there's different eras, and all of your stuff has to match the time period.
Right.
But beyond that, you can just you can have fun and you can color it. Mine's orange, black, and silver, and
I've seen it. It's super cool.
It's
pretty cool.
It's taught me some things too. My wife has appreciated it because I fix stuff at home now. So
there you go. And if you're a Dragon Con person, if you go down for the parade, will you be in the parade this year?
I will. Yep.
Yeah. So you could catch him, and he stands about 2 feet taller than the rest of them. So
I will not be hard.
Yeah, he's easy to find.
Which is really cool because we go right past Atlanta First UMC in the parade.
Right.
And so Reverend Jasmine Smothers is there and Reverend Chris Rapko is there. And so he DJs an event. And so it's funny.
Cool.
I'm going to wave at him when I'm there.
Yeah, there you go.
So
didn't just real quick, didn't the DS like see you mid route last year? Was like, hey.
So our technically now former DS, Dr.
Yes.
Jessica Terrell, she's a big Tolkien fan, and she goes to Dragon Con. I hope I'm not like outing her or whatnot on that, but
putting her business out there.
But she was there and she was screaming at me. I was what we call a handler at the time, where everybody in costume, it's really hard for them to see. And so we have handlers around to make sure that they see where they're going and that if someone gets overheated, like we can help them out and stuff like that. But I heard someone screaming my name and it was Dr. Terrell and gave her a hug and kept on walking. So,
well, to wrap up this first podcast, I do have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
All right. Just real quick off the top of your head, what's your favorite book?
Oh,
don't say the Bible.
How'd the teacher's toupee get in the fish tank?
Okay. How about snack?
Boom Chicka Pop, probably.
Ooh, okay. Last show that you binged?
Squid Game.
Okay. And a guilty pleasure?
Oh, I don't know. What would that be?
Spice
I got nothing
Girls.
good.
No.
Do what?
You listen to Spice Girls?
Listen to Spice, yeah. I've started to not hate the Ninja Kids, the YouTube channel.
Yeah, okay. All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Actually, I don't know if you call this a guilty pleasure, but Bluey. Like, I don't think that should be considered, but most people say if you're a grown person watching a kid's show, then you shouldn't be. Then Bluey would definitely be it. So. Yeah.
And last question is, who is your favorite male staff member that was recently left your staff?
I would say that the pool is limited to Mr. Nick Yoder.
I'll take it. We're going to end it right there.
That was good.
That was good. Thank you. Well, Tyler, I really appreciate you taking some time to come. Let us get to hear your heart a little bit, get to know you, and find him around town. If y'all ever find yourselves in Woodstock and you see him, it's not a forgettable face. Go say hi. They actually do some cool stuff, some like pop-ups with popsicles and stuff like that downtown, and have great events going all year. So if you find your way over there, go say hello.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thanks for having me.
Well, guys, we're going to end it there, and we'll catch you guys next time, all right? You take care.